Hello everyone, Harry Baldock here, editor for Total Telecom. We're here at Submarine Networks EMEA. I'm delighted to be joined by Steve Roberts from EXA Infrastructure. Steve, how's the morning going for you so far?
Well, it's only 11:30. It's been a very busy morning already. I think it's going to set the tone for the rest of the conference, actually. I think we're meetings back to back both days, so as usual, it's going to be a good conference.
Yeah, and we're delighted to have you here. I think there's so many big topics this year for the conference. I think one of them that's really interesting is AI. It's obviously been everywhere in the mainstream media as well as kind of telecoms. In terms of its effect on the submarine cable industry and data centers, what kind of impact do you see that happening? Is it hype? What's your take?
A good question. I think the answer is it's to be seen yet. You know, there is a lot of hype, particularly on the data center side. I think we understand more what the impact is on data centers. We hear about rack densities, power densities going up to 100, 150 kilowatts, very, very big data center deployments dedicated to AI in countries with low PUE, high abundance of green energy. So I think that's quite well defined and that's quite clear for the data center operators. I think what we're still trying to figure out is what the impact is for the network operators like EXA. We understand that actually the impact's been much more in the US right now, and we're really trying to see what the expectation is for how that flows down to us in Europe. I mean, the early indicators are, if we think about the cloud giants and we look at the buying habits of the cloud giants, I think they're still unsure exactly what the impact is going to be in Europe. But we're seeing some of those big players now talking about perhaps having to buy 5 to 10 times the amount of capacity between their key data centers than they were buying previously. So that could be anything up to 10 fiber pairs between data centers. Some of the larger players are even buying more than that, 48 fiber pairs. But I think the answer is they don't know. We see quite a little bit of uncertainty. We see their plans changing a little bit. And then I think one of the interesting things we're seeing is some of the Middle Eastern AI players, as they're coming into Europe and what they're buying in Europe. I think it's about resilience, so it's about multiple routes, it's about diversity, triversity, but also we're seeing them talking about, again, similar quantities of fiber pairs, which is huge, really. So yeah, I think it's very exciting. I think that the demand is there. It's just yet to be completely solidified.
Yeah, it's still very much early days, but as you say, very, very, very exciting. And of course, the data centers themselves are kind of changing as well, things becoming a lot more distributed. Is that kind of a challenge or an opportunity for players such as yourself?
I think it's very much an opportunity for infrastructure providers like us, where the industry used to run on maybe two routes, diversity between key data centers. We certainly see the entire industry moving towards 3, 4, or even 5 routes, particularly when we look at transatlantic, for example. Many of the cloud giants now are implementing at least 4 routes across the Atlantic. And that is an opportunity for people who have transatlantic capacity and people that are in that market today.
And on the topic of kind of all these new routes that are coming in, we've also seen the submarine cables kind of in the spotlight for kind of geopolitical reasons and kind of talking about kind of tensions between East and West, and obviously there's war going on, and there's a lot of factors kind of at play here. How do you see that kind of affecting the industry going forward?
Yeah, I think it's just there's a raised awareness about it. I think there's been 2 significant events this year, which was the cable breaks on the west coast of Africa that affected traffic into Lisbon and Marseille, and then obviously the Red Sea issues with the broken cables there. And I think this is one of the first times we've actually seen that kind of threat in the industry. I think the industry is getting more aware of those threats and what people are now calling Seabed Warfare. There was obviously Nord Stream a couple of years ago. So the industry is gearing up for this, and I think governments are gearing up for this as well. The UK has invested in a couple of ships to monitor submarine cables in our waters, and I believe that other governments are taking similar steps towards that. But I think for us as an infrastructure provider, it's just about providing more diversity and more resilience, finding new routes into new cable landing station locations, and also diversifying again away from the existing corridors. So I think one of the interesting things we may see as a result of the Yemen and Red Sea issues is more routes coming terrestrially through Saudi Arabia and Israel, or through Iraq and Turkey and into Europe that way.
And so it kind of sounds like there's this confluence of AI generating a lot of hype, a lot of investment potentially, and also these kind of government factors that now they're looking at this in a much more serious way and want to get involved. Against that backdrop, I guess, what does that mean for you guys for the next year or two? What are your plans?
I think we would be watching those developments, looking at any opportunities for us to participate in the diversification of subsea infrastructure and landing infrastructure. We've made a couple of announcements this year, actually. New cable landing station in Genoa to provide diversity away from the existing ones there, and new cable landing station in Mazzara in Sicily. And I would expect there will be similar projects to that coming on the horizon. We are quite a significant player in Turkey, actually, and we've worked hard on developing a route through Turkey and through Iraq, through the Middle East that way. And I think we're seeing quite a lot of interest in that route right now, and I'd certainly like to see that one progress to reality over the next 12 months or so.
It's super exciting, and so much going on, so many different places. But as always, Steve, thanks so much for speaking to me.
Likewise, Harry, it's a pleasure.